Hello everyone, this is WarriorDan, and today we're talking about Gravitas, the first-person puzzle-solving game where you're thrown into a secret testing facility overseen and monitored by a friendly-seeming but simultaneously homicidal AI, who will constantly up the ante, always seeming surprised with how far you've managed to get without being brutally murdered. Odds are, to anyone who's been playing video games for any length of time and who may be familiar with video game culture, this will all seem far too familiar. The developers behind Gravitas, Gravity Shark Studios, made it quite clear, even on the game's official Steam store page, that the game is largely inspired by Valve's own Portal series. Now, the real question is, setting aside the strong thematic and stylistic similarities with long-standing existing games like Portal, how well does Gravitas hold up on its own? Not too bad, as it turns out. One of the most distinct ways Gravitas sticks out is how it narratively treats its cast of characters. While GLaDOS from Portal was made memorable for her brief but very quotable appearances sporadically throughout the game, Gravitas takes the polar opposite approach and places its AI characters at the front and center at all times. Now, in the case of most stories, whether they be novels, plays, film, television, or video games, it's usually inadvisable, at the very least risky, to try to put your silliest, most over-the-top character front and center for too long, because you run the inherent risk of the audience gradually growing to actively and passionately hate their presence. While it's always good to have memorable characters, you usually want those memories to be positive, not negative. Yes, Jar Jar Binks, I'm looking at you. This is especially tricky in the case of omniscient narrators. Games like the Stanley Parable have managed to pull this successfully off, but they're the rare exception to the rule. Gravitas manages to join this highly elite group of games that manage to do it right. Throughout the game, every action you take is carefully observed by the narrator bot. Yes, I readily admit for the life of me I cannot remember his name, but ultimately that doesn't matter all that much. At the start of the game, as you walk into the first testing room, the bot is describing in loving, eccentric detail the many unique properties of the gravity gun. I decided to just ignore him and go ahead and grab the device, and the game actually responded to my choice by having the bot become irritated and subsequently lecture me on my inattentiveness. While the concept of programming an AI bot to react differently in response to a variety of situations and circumstances is not a new invention, the seemingly vast amount of alternate dialogue and behavior shows how much the developers really wanted to immerse the player. So credit to them for that, because I thought that was really cool. Now let's talk gameplay. In short, it's nothing especially unique. Gravitas does offer only a slight mix on the Portal gameplay style. Instead of walking through multi-dimensional portals to get across spaces, you kind of create this weird alien-like energy beam that pulls you in one direction or another, accomplishing the same effect through a different visual way. The puzzles start off incredibly simple, with the earliest ones designed almost exclusively to train you on how to take full advantage of your gravity gun. The learning curve here is pretty subtle. It took me roughly half a dozen rooms before I began to feel even somewhat challenged. If you find yourself unexpectedly stuck and unable to figure out the puzzle ahead of you, your overly friendly and slightly menacing AI companion will give you some very pointed hints to steer you in the right direction. The full game is sadly incredibly short, lasting roughly between 35 and 45 minutes, depending on how long it takes you to figure out each of the puzzles. I blew through most of the puzzles fairly easily, but I did spend about 20 minutes pondering the same puzzle before realizing what an idiot I was, and how I was trying to overcomplicate everything when the solution itself was far more straightforward than I had imagined. At the end of the day, Gravitas is one of the best indie games I've played this year, and I really hope that this initial release is only a demo version of what will hopefully eventually emerge as a full-length paid game. I would wholeheartedly recommend giving it a go if you're into games like Portal or the Stanley Parable. On that note, that's where I'm going to wrap it up for today. If you have any suggestions for what other games I can review, do leave them down in the comments section below. I always love feedback. I do read and almost always respond to comments, unlike most people on the platform. And if you want to see more review videos like this one, hit that subscribe button down below and click the bell to get notified when a new video goes live. This is WarriorDan signing out. Stay awesome, everybody, and peace out.